Hey, this is Emily at Oz Inflatable Kayaks, and I'm super chuffed to be talking to you about the Quest Solo Inflatable Kayak from Jasparo. Anyone that's watched my videos knows I'm a huge fan of keeping things light. And this is a really lightweight kayak, really simple to set up, but also comfortable and performs beautifully on the water with no fin. It's very different to similar looking kayaks on the market, and in this video I'm going to show you those differences. Okay, so at first glance, it's two side tubes and a drop stitch floor. Looks pretty standard. There's quite a few kayaks like that on the market. Just a quick note for those of you who don't know, drop stitch is where the chamber is stitched top to bottom all the way through. You can blow it up to quite high pressure. It's 10 psi in this case, and it goes rigid. It's what they make inflatable stand-up paddleboards out of, if you can imagine all your weight on one point. So you do get really good rigidity. You can see there, no sagging, no bending, no buckling in this kayak. It's excellent for that. But that is pretty standard. Like I said, there's a lot of kayaks on the market that have drop stitch floors and side tubes. But this is where things get different. See how the bow and the stern is often out of the water? I'm not picking on this particular kayak or this particular brand. It's very common. That's actually a whitewater style of kayak. That's called rocker, that curve. Really good for whitewater, pretty dreadful for anything else. So that has to be compensated either with fins. In this particular case, there's two fins. The other compensation that you'll often see, again, not picking on this particular brand or model, this is very common, are these rigid plastic keels in the bow and stern that complement the fin. And I personally hate putting fins in, like sup fins. They're just so hard to slide in, and you can't rest the kayak on the fin. So for me, that's not great. But what you'll also notice is these rigid bow and keel stern in the bow and the stern. These keels kind of stay in line with the base. You even get a slight rocker, or at best you get flat. The problem with that, and sorry, this picture's a bit hard to see, is that they're barely in the water, if at all. So these are pretty short kayaks. Like this one's 2.85 meters. The Quest Solo is 2.9 meters. Really short kayak. It's hard to stop a short kayak waggling around without these additional supports. And so it's a real problem. It really affects the experience. So we've gone back to the drawing board, and we have this drop stitch keel in both the bow and the stern with the Quest Solo. Completely different to anything you're going to see on the market. And you can see this kayak, the base is flat, and then the keel goes into the water to the point where if you put the Quest Solo just on the grass, it flops to one side because these keels are popping it up. It's really pronounced, and you can see how far into the water it goes, even in the bow. So a really common problem is that your weight's too far back in these kayaks, especially the short ones, and the bow sticking up out of the water. But even at my lightweight, I've got my weight forward, and we've got the bow into the water, bow and stern. And the result in terms of the tracking is excellent. So let me be crystal clear here. I see how it's peeling that water away. I am not using a fin in this kayak. And look at the waggle. Like, you always get a bit of a waggle in a short kayak, right? But look at it. It's very minimal. And this is really important for wind effect as well. The Quest range is not that wind affected because there's quite a low profile in the water. There's not a lot of the kayak sticking up above the water. But you will get slowed down. Everyone gets wind affected a little bit. But the ability to hold your line with that bow and stern keel, it's beautiful. It's really a work of art. Now, why did we make it so short? Like, if being longer helps tracking, why would you make such a short kayak? Weight. Like I said, anyone that's watched my videos knows I'm all about keeping it light, keeping it easy, right? Without compromising on performance and comfort. That's my big thing. 12.2 kilograms. We're really proud of that. We've been able to keep the weight right down, but still give you a really full-featured kayak. Now, be careful if you're comparing to other kayaks in the market, because a lot of them quote the hull weight. They're like, oh, it's 9 kilograms. And then you find out you've got to add on 2 fins, foot brace, seat, deck lifts, all this stuff. So this is everything that I am lifting in this picture: foot pegs, seat, the works. 12.2 kilograms, because in my opinion, that's what you realistically have to carry down to the beach or the boat ramp, and totally achievable. Like, I know this looks like me being Superwoman, but I'm just a regular woman and I can get it up over my head. However, even though it's quite short, it is quite spacious, and I didn't have a dog on hand or a child when we were filming this, so I've just decided to show you the size. You can fit quite a lot in here, so you get a lot of space in and under the deck, a lot of space in under the back deck as well. These straps here, you can take them off. They're purely to stop the seat back from falling when you're trying to get into the kayak. So small to medium dog, absolutely, tick. Small kid, tick, right? No problem. Bit of gear, tick, absolutely. One thing I will say here is if you're taking the kid, I often leave the foot brace out and kind of have them up the front there because you still want to try to get as much weight as you can in the bow, but it's up to you how you do it. And the other thing I love about this kayak is the balance, right? So it is so stable. You've got quite a low profile with this kayak. You can literally fall into it and you'd be totally fine. And that's what also makes it really good for dogs. It's good for kids. It's good for fishing. However, we have a custom fishing model if you're going to be doing a lot of that. Comfort-wise, I love foot pegs. Huge fan. I don't like the bars. I find them not adjustable enough. Like the length, like being able to get your feet in the right position matters. And I love that you can adjust these, just slide them back and forth. I like to brace when I'm paddling. It allows me to use my whole body in the rotational movement. So you're getting a much more efficient stroke using everything. And it supports my lower back. If you don't want to use them, just leave them out, but they come with. And then you've got the seat. Now, we put a lot into the seat. We got extra thickness in the rigidity component in the back. I found that these were just too saggy. They weren't giving me the lumbar support I needed. So it's got extra thickness. The D-rings are up really high, not by accident, okay? So it makes a huge difference. I've paddled so many inflatable kayaks, you wouldn't believe it. It makes a huge difference after the first hour, whether the D-rings are sitting up high and pulling you forwards instead of sitting down lower on the floor and pulling you down. Huge difference. You got 2 straps for adjustability, so you can really get that lumbar in. And the cushion here on the base is detachable. With this particular model, I actually like the cushion out because for me, it's about the paddling motion and where am I at the right angle to the water. And for me personally, with my body height, that's with the cushion out, but we thought we'll give you the option by chucking the cushion in. Some people like their hips up above their heels as well. So you got some good options there. Absolutely, totally comfortable for, a good few hours. Whoops, I didn't mean to skip that. Beg your pardon. Setup is a dottle. 3 valves for 3 chambers. They're all the same valve type, so you can just go bang, bang, bang with your pump. The floor's 10 psi. The 2 side chambers are between 3 and 5. 3 if you're lighter, 5 if you're a bit heavier, somewhere in between if you're somewhere in between. Now, strictly speaking, I don't insist on people getting an electric pump for this kayak. It comes with a hand pump, and it's not a huge kayak, and the pressure's not that high, so you could do it. But just between you and me, it's the best money you've ever spent. An electric pump. Pretty well anything that does inflatable kayaks or stand-up paddleboards on the market will work. Seat. Just as I said before, the seat rear straps are optional, as is the cushion. The foot pegs are optional. The deck lifts, technically speaking, are optional, but any water that dumps on that deck is going to go straight into your kayak. We actually have put, this is another difference with this model to the similar ones, we've put a deck lift on the front and the back because I found that when I was pulling up on beaches, and I'm on flat water here, but still, you get a little bit of gentle, wind sort of waves coming in. Even on big lakes, you'll get some little waves coming in. And they were splashing on the back deck as I was pulled up on the beach and just dumping water straight into the kayak. So that's another thing we thought we'd chuck in. Now, there is a fin. You'll see at the end, it was right here that I'm mentioning there's an optional fin. You don't need the fin. It tracks really well without it. As I said, I think fins are a pain in the bum to put on and to take off, but it's there. If you want extra tracking, by all means, go for it. The real reason, however, that we put the fin on was so that you could put a propeller on, zoom. These are so much fun. All the fin box propellers on the market clip straight into the sub fin box. That's why we gave it to you. Heaps of fun. Give it a go. I highly recommend it. In terms of durability, I showed you the drop stitch that they use earlier, that stitched material. They also use PVC tarpaulin, not regular PVC. So the tarpaulin has a layer of polyester in between 2 layers of PVC. It's incredibly effective. I've been selling inflatable kayaks for 17 years. This is incredibly effective at stopping any sort of sharp rocks or anything from getting through. They'll often scratch that first layer, then they stop dead. on the second layer, and so you've got your third layer there still holding together. In fact, if you haven't got any cosmetic scratches, you're not having enough fun. Get out there. They've also given you this extra durable rail on both of the bow and the stern keel there, because that's the bit as you're pulling up on the beach of the boat ramp, that's the bit that's taking the brunt of it. That thing's super tough and rigid, works an absolute treat. This is the team, so we spent a lot of time, this is the tandem one here, we spent a lot of time making sure the balance of the seats and the handles, like you don't want to pick the kayak up and have it kind of be tipping forwards and backwards, and you want your weight forward, so the bow's in the water, you want the foot pegs to be at a reasonable distance for the vast majority of people's heights. It's quite challenging, and we spent a lot of time working with these guys, and let me tell you, their energy and their precision and their detail, the way that they really carefully with their experience stick everything together was unbelievable. We were super impressed with that. Not only that, they then inflate everything for 7 full days to make sure everything's holding pressure. So, this gives us great comfort. We know that when we're delivering the kayak to you, it is a fully functional kayak. We're super proud of the range. So, like I said, I'm a huge fan of anything super light, super easy and quick. I love just a quick getting out in the water, but having a kayak that can also do that long distance stuff. But if you have any questions as to whether the Quest Solo Inflatable Kayak from Jaspara is correct for you, please get in touch. This is Emily at Oz Inflatable Kayaks.